Okay.
Hey, everybody. How are you?
Howdy.
Hi. Hi, Karen. Hi,
How are
Deb.
you?
Hi, Irene.
Hi.
What's
We
going
have no hot water in my condo today.
There's probably a lot of water outside.
Yeah, I probably is warmer out there than in my shower, so I got out of my shower real quick. Did
I
you
bet.
bother with it?
Hey, Felice.
Hello.
Hi, please.
Hello.
Hey, Deb.
Did your
Howdy.
Karen.
sump pump hold all night?
You know, it did. It did.
Good.
It was weird. We think it wasn't working, so we were bailing it out for 2 hours. We brought all the furniture upstairs.
Wow.
But it turned out that I think it there you go. I think it didn't kick in, but after a while it got going.
Good.
So it's been running continuously.
Awesome.
Yes.
I can hear mine. I was down here. It kicked on right now, which is funny because we haven't had any rain for a while, but it's been kicking on about every other minute. And it runs for 10 or 15 seconds and then it's off. And I thought yesterday my pool was going to overflow, which would have totally flooded the guy's yard behind me because it slopes down on the other side of it. So,
Well, Naper and 75th is flooded, which isn't too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting all these notifications. I don't know if you're on Naper Notify, all these notifications, road flooded, road flooded, road flooded.
No, but we drove over to Pepe's last night on Chicago Avenue and Naper Boulevard.
Yeah.
And it was Naper, every road was bad coming back. Every road. The Hobson was bad. We came out Hobson, we went back Naper Boulevard.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
You guys have a good weekend. Awesome.
It rained.
It rained? Yeah. Looking to see who's not around here. Hey, where are you from? Where are you from? You're from Orland Park, I think, right, Marie?
Sorry, I am from Woodridge. So I'm right around the corner from you.
Okay.
Kinda.
So, okay, I'm looking to see Donna, you're from New Jersey. So I told you guys this morning on the 5 a.m. club. So I think everybody else should get their packages tomorrow or the next day. I still have to go back to the post office because I filled up the bin and I couldn't get them all in there yesterday when I went. So your packages are on their way for the workshop on Friday, except for anybody out of state. It looks like you're not going to get them till Thursday. So, excuse me.
What was that?
Excuse me. Hello, this is Jean.
Good. She got a call. I have a second.
Yeah.
Christine, how's your side?
Hey, you know what? I'm in the middle
flooding?
of training, but I teach them to always
This is
answer your
Felice.
phone. Can you call me later? Okay. All right. Cool. Thanks. Bye. Okay. So, so let's talk about today's lesson, and I'm calling it Failure Leads to Success. Key. It's right. It's a success key. There is a camp out there called Super Camp, and they teach seven lessons. And this is one of the lessons. And this is the lesson that made me know that I wanted to send my kids to this camp, right? So if you teach your children if they fail, that they are a failure. I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying if that's the lesson that you're teaching people, it's such a big, it will hold them back their whole lives because they will work so hard and they will never take a risk because they're going to be afraid to fail. Make it okay for your children to fail. Make it okay for you to fail. I would imagine that there's some of you, and either you're watching the call now or you're going to watch the replay later, and the thought of failure is scary as hell to you, right? That you're so afraid of failing or you don't know what that will look like that you don't take the risks that you need to take in your business in order to have the success that you want to have, right? I have thousands probably of stories I could tell you about failure, but let me just tell you about my biggest one. In 1998, I opened a dance studio, right? You probably could tell from the long, slender body that I have that I was probably a prima donna in my younger years. That would totally not be true. I didn't know a damn thing about dance, right? But my daughter was a dancer, and her dance teacher was going to leave. And I said, I would open up a studio. I would help him. We would partner, open up this studio, and then he eventually would buy me out, because that's not really what I wanted to do, right? We open up the studio. It's all my money invested because he doesn't have anything. It's all my money invested. I'm paying him a salary. I'm not taking any money. And 6 weeks into this, after we opened, he is stealing tuition money, right? I'm paying him like $750 a week, right? And he's stealing tuition money. And that pissed me off. Now, here's the problem. I was 50-50 partners with him. How do I get rid of him? We had a corporation. How do I get rid of him? Well, my husband came up with the idea that we increase the stock, right? We want to increase the shares of stock. And the way to do that is you have to vote to do that. There was 3 of us as partners, my husband, myself, and him. The 2 of us voted that we were going to increase the shares of stock, which meant we had to put more money into the business. And if he wanted to stay in business with us, he had to put more money in, and he doesn't even work for me anymore. Well, we knew exactly what would happen. He did not put any more money into that. So once we had majority shares of stock, we voted to close the corporation, and we were out of business with him, right? No, I didn't owe him any more money. Now, why? That seems like a win, right? No, here's the thing. When I fired him, right, I lost all the kids that well, not all of them, but a majority of the kids that he brought. He was their dance teacher for a number of years. I ended up losing $350,000 on that business in a matter of 6 years. Right now, 9/11 also happened during this time. I've told the story about we finally got it built back up, and then 9/11 comes along, and we lost, 30% of our kids for the students for that next year. So it was just one failure after another with that business. Was that a total failure for me? No, I learned so much. Here's my biggest lesson. I learned, don't partner with people, right? Do not partner with people. That is not a good, I don't want to be told what to do. I don't want somebody else to have any say over how I make money, right? So that's one thing I learned. Number 2 thing I learned is how to market a business, right? Then that was no longer a home-based business. That was my first brick and mortar business, which it was a big failure. So let me just tell you what I did in the middle of this big, huge failure. I took a loan out on our dream house we had just bought, and I bought another brick and mortar business, right? So how many people, honestly, if you were honest, how many of you would have done that? Right? No, because you would be scared. The risk was too big at that point, right? With no risk comes no reward, right? There's no risk without a reward. So I had to continue on, or I was just going to, we would have lost everything, right? When you risk everything and there's a failure and you stop, there's no way to recoup from that, right? There's no way to recoup from that. If you don't continue to invest in yourself and continue to move forward, or continue to invest in wherever you're at there, if there's no risk, if you don't continue to take a risk, you just stop, and everything you've lost is gone, and you have no way of possibly recovering from that. This is just how the stock market runs, right? It's exactly how the stock market runs. You invest into the stock market. If you lose big, what do? Do you sell it when you've lost big? Mm-mm. No, you hang on to it, right? Even though it's worth almost next to nothing, you hang on to it, hoping that the market's going to come back, which it usually does, right? And then you get paid. Now you're rewarded for taking that risk, for not just dumping everything and walking away with nothing. So you guys have to really be thinking about, how am I handling any little failure that comes along in my business? What does that look like? This right now, a lot of people, think about how many people you know. How many people do you know that are looking at this whole pandemic as a huge failure, right? Their business is failing, they're out of work, their husband's out of work, their kids are home, right? This is considered a huge failure right now. But the economy is actually failing, right? But what will happen if you continue working and you continue investing in yourself and you continue going out there and having sales conversations and selling your product every single day? What's going to happen when this comes back? It's exactly what I talked about when we first started this whole program. Is Zig Ziglar said he doesn't participate in a recession. He keeps working as if there was no recession, right? What will happen is, because you kept working, because you kept investing in yourself, meaning, and I don't mean necessarily financially, I mean you're investing, you're getting up every day on time, you're getting dressed, you're going to work, you're having sales conversations, you're reaching out and seeing how you can serve people, right? That will all be rewarded for you because you did the work and you kept going. If you stop and for whatever reason, I don't care what the reason is, it could be a great reason, it could be a great excuse, it could be whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. Because the moment you stop, you lose. You completely lose everything and you cannot get it back. Think about a relationship, right? There's a failure in a relationship. Is it a success if you can save it, right? There can be a failure in a relationship and you can save that by doing the work, right? By putting the time in, by putting the effort in, by saving that relationship. How do I know? Went through that, right? Been married, going to be married 40 years next year, and year 13 was a real piece of shit, right? Right? That the D word came around a lot of times during that, but we did the work. We saw a counselor, we saw a marriage therapist, and we did the work, right? Did it suck? Oh hell yeah, it sucked, right? But it led to success, right? It was a great example of how you're right there at the verge of failure, right? And then you have to make that choice. You have to pivot, right? And this is exactly what you guys are doing right now. You're pivoting your businesses. So by pivoting your businesses and still doing the work, it all leads right back to success. All right, I know I see a couple hands up. Nicole, you had your hand up first.
Okay, yeah. So as I was listening to your story initially, I guess it sounded like you had, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounded like you had capital to fall back on already. Like, because how can you buy?
We had all of our money was invested in the stock market.
Okay.
Nothing was liquid, nothing liquid. The only liquid thing we had, and that wasn't even really liquid, was our house that we paid cash for when we bought it.
So if you have, let's say, nothing financially.
If you have nothing, yeah, then you better work your ass off. Because let me just tell you, Nicole, while that sounds like the story I just told you sounds really great, it doesn't tell you that when we got married, we started with nothing. We lived for 4 months in an apartment with a TV and we sat on 2 beanbag chairs, right? I mean, we have literally created what we have, and we were blessed, right? My husband's really freaking smart. It's part of the reason I would never divorce him. He's too damn smart. So no, I'm just kidding. But the fact is that he's brilliant, and he was rewarded because he did the work. He put in extra hours, and he was rewarded with stock options in his company that was private at the time, and then it went public.
Yeah, I'm only asking because, I feel like it's hard to, it's hard to take a risk when you have, well, on the one hand, it's hard to take a risk when you have a lot, but it's also hard to take a risk when you have nothing.
Here's my opinion on that. I think that's the easiest time to take a risk, when you have nothing. Right? What do you have to lose? Right? What do you have to lose? Right? When I bought that store, what I had to lose was my house. Right?
Right.
Even though we just bought a house, we paid cash for it. I didn't have any money I didn't have any liquid money to buy a business. So I took out a loan on my house in order to do it. But I didn't take extra because I was scared, right? I didn't take any extra for marketing. I didn't take any extra for inventory, right? So I didn't take a paycheck for 4 years either while I was investing all that money back in there. I had a lot to lose, because if I didn't turn that business around, that would have come back. If we would have foreclosed on our mortgage, what if the stock prices were down? Think about what happened in 2008. We lost pretty much everything in 2006 to 2008. All of our stock is gone now, right? Because of the market. That was just bad financial choices that everything was invested in the market. That was a bad, right? Now, would we do things differently again? Yeah, probably. But the failure comes when you take the risk. I mean, the failure comes when you don't take the risk. That's what I tried to say. Failure comes when you don't take the risk. And if you've got nothing to lose, you've got everything to gain. But I always look at that. Here's the thing, Nicole, there was so many years we had nothing, right? We literally had nothing, living paycheck to paycheck, right? It's one of the reasons that I work so flippin' hard now is because I never want to get back to that spot, right? I had nothing, then we had something, and then we lost it all. And then now my goal is to just build us back up. It's not about, and I don't want to lose that again, right? So I'm willing to work as hard as I possibly can so that doesn't happen. Can it happen? Of course it can, right? And this pandemic is a perfect example of how we are being forced out of work by our government, right? They're closing our businesses. I was just before I got on here, I was watching a video from the woman in Salem who went back to work, a salon, and she's now been, the sheriffs came in and told her that they were going to arrest her. They sent DCFS to her. Now, it's not in Illinois, so I don't know what town, but Child Protective Services, while she was not there, came in to interview her children. They would not let her be in the same room while her children were being interviewed. And there was no reason for any of that other than the fact that she wanted to go back to work because she paid the mortgage on their house, right? People want to, this is a big failure. And business owners are seeing this as they're losing everything. The only risk they can take is to open their business, right? Their only risk they can do is to open their business. I totally support that, right? I totally support all of you staying open. If you had brick and mortars, I would totally support you opening those businesses. If I had a brick and mortar at this point, I would totally be back to work. How come Costco, how come Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factories, how come drive-through restaurants can all be open? Those people are touching our food, for God's sake, right? How can all of that be open and yet you can't go get a haircut? You can't go get your nails done, right? Because they're considered non-essential. I'm sorry, but I don't really think chocolate is an essential business. And yet they're okay because they fall under the food rule. What the hell, right? So my point is that right now we are in the midst of an economic failure. And the only way to get out of this is to go back to work, right? So and this is a perfect time, Nicole, more businesses are started during a recession or a depression than any other time in history. So this is your time to bloom in a business that you and I talked about the other day. It's totally a time to bloom. And you can do this. You can absolutely do this.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Deb, what do you have to say?
I wanted to say that just over the last weekend, I've been looking at the news and watching sort of like now the carnage of after everything was closed and what's really happening to people's lives. And when I think about how you challenged me in this, and I did the things you said, and I've had steady business, and I can't even believe it. And I look around and I see people that have just been watching Netflix, and I'm working harder now than I've ever worked. And
How does it feel?
it's great.
Wait,
It's
hold on.
great.
How
I
does
can't
that
believe
feel?
it.
How does it feel to be
feels
harder than you've ever worked before and having success?
It's exhausting and empowering.
Awesome. It's okay. I'm exhausted every damn night at 7 o'clock, right? every night. Tonight, I'm not even sure I may have to actually hit 3 p.m. nap time because I have been up since 1:30. I couldn't go back to sleep. My mind was just racing, and I was like, why are you just laying here? You're dying to get back downstairs and get to work. Why can't you just get up, right? And I just got up and I came down here and started working. And it's what I live for. It's really what I live for. My kids are gone. It's my time to create the business that I've always wanted, right? There's no reason for me to wait. I can get up whatever time I want. And you're right, it is totally empowering. How many of you are feeling empowered by what you're doing right now? Nicole, Francesca, you want to say something, or you're just saying I'm empowered?
Both.
Oh, all right. So go ahead and say something.
Are you recording this?
I am. Do you want me to stop?
Just for a second.
All right, hold on a minute.
I don't know if you.
Let me pause. Yeah, so we're back on. We're back recording, and Francesca just wanted to share a quick little story. So, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So the only way to wealth is through work. The only way to success is you've got to have some failures, and you can't quit. You have to learn from them, right? Like I said, this comes from Super Camp, right? It's a camp. It's all over the country. I sent all 3 of my kids went to Super Camp. It is the type of camp that you would think a type A mother would send her children to. It's an academic camp that they go to over the summer, and they stay inside and they're learning, right? So there's no boating. There's no arrow or bow hunting or what do you call it when you shoot?
Archery.
Archery. There's no archery. There's no fishing, right? These guys are in there and they're learning how to take notes, and they're learning how to other stuff. But I've always given my kids that opportunity to fail and show them what the lesson is when you fail. Because if you fail, and now my boys have to learn every lesson the hard way, which means they have to fail over and over and over. My daughter can see the lesson learned before she's ever made it. Go, yeah, not for me, right? So how can you, number one, empower your children, although most of you guys have children too old to, at this point, to do that with, but empower your people and yourselves that it's okay to make a mistake. You will not die from making a mistake. You will die from quitting.
Mm-hmm.
You will die from not trying again, right? What does dying look like? Dying looks like I now can't make a choice. I can't choose between McDonald's or Burger King. I can't make a choice anymore, right? You physically can't make a choice. That's what failure does to people when you don't learn the lessons from it, right? When you won't go out and then try again, right? If all this here's the thing, if all this came tumbling down for me tomorrow, do you know what I would do?
Get up and do something else.
I would not do something. I would just go back and start over, right? Everything, I've learned so many lessons from what in the last 35 years, in the last 10 years as I started a coaching business, I've learned so many lessons. I would just do it again. I would just do it smarter and faster the next time because I've learned so much, right? I know how to make sales calls. I know how to pick up the phone and get business. I know how to support people. I know what's going on with their business, right? I would just start again because this is what I was meant to do. What would you do tomorrow? If all this came crashing down on you today, what would you do tomorrow?
Just keep going.
Keep going, right? You're right. That's
all you can do.
Yeah, I'd start up again too.
Yeah, it's your only option. Felice, what's going on?
Oh, I was just going to say, talking about empowering your children, 2 years ago, my son made a decision to go to grad school. We said, great, pursue your passion, get educated, great, but it's on you. So he took a shitload of student debt out. Well, my entire family's against it. All my sisters are saying, you should never go, you're never going to get a job. And now with what happened, the economy, I hope he gets a job when he has one more semester. It's a 2.5-year program. I hope he can get a job, but he's rolling the dice, crossing his fingers that he's going to get a job, and we don't know. And my entire family's against us. So,
what field is it?
I hope he can get a job just to show my sisters.
Thing. Why is it anybody else's business except for you and your children and your husband?
Because they're
Amen
my
to that.
sisters, and people have sisters that are in your business. And
Well, I totally have sisters who are in my business.
Yeah, me
but
too.
I don't care what they say, right?
I
No,
don't
one
either.
of them is an
Anyway.
entrepreneur.
anyway,
No,
someone
what-
just asked.
no,
Someone just
what-
asked. I forgot what he's
What's
doing.
field? Yeah.
He in December he'll graduate with a master's in environmental policy and a master's in environmental science.
He
Environmental
is set
management.
for life.
He'll get
He's
a
gonna,
job.
he'll get it. He'll get a job.
He'll get it.
No worries on that one.
Yeah, he'll do really
Just,
well.
just to prove my sisters wrong, because they've just been on me for 2 years. Anyway, so empowering your children, rolling the dice, cross your fingers.
Here's the
He'll
thing.
he'll get a job. Don't worry.
Yes, but here's what'll happen. Let's say he doesn't find one right away. He still needs to get a job, right? And then you've got to listen to your sisters say, because what's the alternative? He sits around waiting for a job, right? And your sisters are like, look, I told you, right? No, he's got to get a job, and you got to suck it up until he gets the job he wants, right? So you got to be prepared for that and encourage them not to sit around waiting for that job unemployed, right? To get a job.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Get a job, and then always keep looking for that right job that in the studies he wants. Because
Police,
Yes.
I'm sorry,
I don't know who that is. Oh, it's you.
it's Irene. What makes your sisters think they're qualified to know whether or not he will get a job in his chosen field? What do they know about that field?
Oh, there's a lot. Nothing.
Okay, that is all you need to say. When you become an expert in this field and you can tell me if there's work out there, then I will listen. Otherwise, thank you for your input. Bye.
In fact, they told their son, my nephew, don't go into that field because you're not going to get a job. So
Here's
he's off
That's
floundering.
limiting. That's so
I
limiting.
know. So anyway, empowering children, failing, fall forward,
Right.
cross your fingers, and keep improving yourself.
Anyway, those
everybody has to take their own path, right? The path,
right.
though, is filled with
Here's what I
failure.
would say.
And the path is filled with failure, right? And you can embrace the failure and live in it, and then let it eat you alive and become very small and meek and not powerful. Or you can take the lessons you learn and not give a shit what anybody else says and go out and create what you were meant to do in life, right? Go do it. We all have that path. It's a funny thing. We all have the same path. And yet some of us walk down it. Some of us crawl down that path. Some of us run down that path. And some of us fall down and we just lay there and we don't ever get back up.
even if you don't use your degree directly per se, you are equipped with skills that you can translate to other jobs, at which point really becomes about marketing yourself, marketing your skills, selling yourself to any given job because, hey, I can do this, so I could do this. So it's not just
my undergraduate is human resources and industrial relations management. I don't use it at all. Why
Yeah.
do you?
Ever?
But it led you down the path of where you are today.
Absolutely.
Annie, go ahead.
Number one, like, I totally get the family thing. However, I feel like those things, when people disparage what we do and they cast doubt upon what we do, that comes from their own place of lack.
Right.
And I also would just listen to it and just let it go and say, interesting opinion, and move on. I honestly wouldn't give it 2 minutes of my time.
Yeah. I love that. That would piss my family off, and we're like, oh, that's an interesting opinion. Renee,
Yeah, interesting.
opinion. I'm going to use that one, Connie.
I
It's a
tried.
good one.
Let me just say
But
this.
it's 3
Hold
against
on.
1.
None of you better say that back to me.
Interesting opinion.
Interesting opinion.
Better write that down.
Everybody write that down.
You're all writing it down to figure out how you can work that into the conversation, right?
Yes.
Renee, go ahead.
Okay, and you can't say interesting point of view also. That's
Right,
another,
can't say that one either.
that's another way to kind of say the same thing. But you know what? It was like, I did mortgage loans for 20 years. And I always worked in the corporate world. And then I decided that I wanted to get certified as a hypnotherapist. I had read all kinds of books about it. I was interested in it. I just love all the positive books that I read and all the stuff. And everybody always thought that it was woo-woo garbage stuff. And it's funny that we had this talk about woo-woo this morning when I was on Deb's call. But so my family thinks that what I do is woo-woo. And that's okay. I mean, it's okay because I don't really give a shit what they think or say. Now, I've got a group of people with the Gathering Lighthouse, and it was like I was in that group, and thank God I had that group because they just kind of pushed me forward with, yeah, you can do that, and you can do that, and you can do that. So then I became a Reiki master, and then Access Consciousness, and all these other things that my family still thinks is woo-woo. But what I really like is that when you get into a group, you can see how the group accepts you. And that's what I like about this group, is because what I learned from Oprah is that everybody wants to be validated. And I don't care if my family validates me. I know they still love me. I just don't talk about my woo-woo, and they're fine with that. But I feel validated in the Gathering Lighthouse. I feel validated in this group. And I just think that that's so important. If you can find a place where you feel validated, and I just feel like I can just like move forward like at a lightning speed, even though I might be doing things a little bit slower because it takes me a while to learn things. But I think that that's what it's all about. And I think we all validate each other, and I think that that's real important. So thank you, Jean, for starting this wonderful group.
You're welcome. You know, I was talking to my daughter last night, and we were talking about something she's working on at the hospital, and she mentioned to me that the surgery patients, they offer them Reiki. So coming out of that, because they've seen how that calms them down, and they come out of it with less pain than other people. So I thought that's really interesting, right?
Yeah.
So she was looking for as part of her master's, she's got her clinicals now, and then there's one more piece where she's got to implement a project at the hospital. So they're talking about what they can implement there. And she has an idea already that she's going to work on. But I said, wouldn't it be great if you could implement a meditation for people as they're coming out of surgery or going into surgery? How would that affect them too? That would be kind of cool to know. So I told her, I said, one of the other things is that I said would be a great project right now, except she's not really working around patients, is this would be really good research to find out how are patients doing based on having a family member. Right now they can't have any family members there.
Yeah.
How is that affecting them? But another one is what she told me. She said it's really devastating to the nurses, right? The nurses are really they are really stressed out and suffering from having to go back and tell a patient that their loved one died, or not being able to let them in because their loved one is in the last stages there. So it's been really, really hard for them because they're trying to be there for everybody. So it was interesting. So again, anyway, I don't want to get off topic, but I thought it was interesting that Reiki was being used in Elmhurst Hospital right now. Probably Edward too, if they're doing it in Elmhurst. So cool. All right, that's all I have for today. I'll take one more question because we're at 10:32. Go ahead, Francesca, and then we're going to.
So just I posted in the I think I posted last night. If anybody knows an IT recruiter,
What does that do? I didn't understand what they do.
So what they do is they source people to fill IT positions. So this is for permanent placement, and it's the first level I think is 40%. It's at least 40% commission. So if you know of anybody, I have one person who has already reached out to me, but we can bring in like 3 people. Great company. They've got clients already in place. You have to sign an NDA, but they're looking for somebody who can make at least 2 placements a month.
And it's totally 100% commission, right?
It is 100. Well, we'll do a draw if we have to, just to keep people kind of going. But I need somebody seasoned who knows how to do this.
Gotcha.
So if you know of anybody, let me know.
Did you reach out to Lynn Dietrich?
No.
Lynn Lionhood?
No, I'll send, actually, she called me while we were on the phone, so I'll reach out to her as well. And just so that you know, I'm doing business while I was on this call this morning with some of
High
the
five
team
for
here.
that. I'm okay with that. Right?
Yeah.
You showed up. I don't care if you're making money, go for it, right?
Yeah, I was in a 3-day boot camp and kicked my ass, but I mean, just great information.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, don't forget helpline today at 4:00. Our one-day event is on Friday. Don't forget about that. Is it on your calendar? And yeah, Irene, go ahead. You're muted.
Am I still muted?
Now you're
No.
not.
No, no. So when are we starting the individual Facebook Lives? For the, you had a competition that you were starting?
Oh, yeah, that starts June 1st, actually. So I couldn't get all the tech part. I just hired a tech company to do it for me. So, but I said, let's push it back because we've got this coming up.
Okay.
And then the following week, I'm at 5 days, 5 out of the next 7 days, and I'm at conferences. So I don't want to have to leave the conference to do it because the conference
Sure.
is good. So, okay. Yeah, so
Thank
we're starting the Facebook video challenge is going to be on June 1st. And I haven't come up with a great prize yet, but I will come up with a really, really great prize that you will want to work for and win. Okay. Bye, Nicole. Bye, Sherilyn. She left her. Oh, no, you're still there. Okay. I will see you guys all. And if you have questions, come out back to the helpline at 4. And it's really about working on your one-day event, getting that going, right? So you're still working there, but I've got different stuff for you. So if you need help, come back there at 4:00. Okay.
Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Hi, Jean, did you want to talk about what we were going to talk about?
Yes. So let me end the recording because I always